Hello, hello, hello. This is Craig Patterson, aka the Pink Pig, aka Patty with Madlab, in our podcast. I still don't have a name for the thing here, but today we got people say to me sometimes, "Oh, that'll never work in a small town." My argument is, Madlab and its principles and foundation works even better in a small town because you can't lie, cheat, and steal in a small town because you'll run into people really quick. So with us, I got Nathan and Sarah Corrigal from, I'm gonna say Melita.
Yeah, Melita, Manitoba.
Melita, Manitoba. You've been with us since 2018. Tell me how you found us and why you stick with us.
Yeah, I guess I probably was the one that did the finding. I mean, I was always listening to Mind Muscle Project, I think,
Oh, those
podcast.
boys.
So I
Laffy
listened,
and Locky. They
Greg.
don't get
I
called for
listened to
listening
you
to Laffy.
multiple times talk about how to make money in the fitness industry and all the problems. And I mean, you used to talk about CrossFit's methodology and intro to fitness for a newbie, and then you talked about your gym, and it just kind of made sense to me. And then I think Mind Muscle Project was promoting you guys for a while, right?
Yeah, we were sort of partnered up with them, and I liked what they were up to, and they had it going good in their gym.
Yeah.
And they kind of disappeared on me. And they last I heard, they jumped the gym launch guy, convinced them, I think, with a big check
Yeah.
to go down that path. And I've heard it didn't go very well. But Raph and Lockie, you owe me a call if you happen to be listening to this.
Yeah, exactly. And then so yeah, I clicked a free discovery call, and then Audrey jumped on the call with me, and I think it was like, yeah, here's my credit card, because we were just recently pregnant at the time, and I knew we needed some changes, or else what we were doing wasn't sustainable for having a baby or babies and trying to have a normal life. So
Yeah, we were pretty married to that gym, so we had to find a way to distance ourselves a little bit, but still be successful with it, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. You can't murder yourself and martyr yourself to a gym and make it your everything. One of the favorite things I heard recently in one of our podcasts was a couple of the high performance, Patrick and Sarah in Cincinnati. They're like, I have other interests outside of being in a gym all the time. I miss doing this and that and that, and now I'm doing them again. For years, I couldn't pursue any of my hobbies or passions or fun outside the gym because there was nothing there. So, okay, how many people in Melita?
so like 1100, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
The census says like 1100.
1100.
I think so we're an oil town, like it's a farming community, but it gets a little boosted when oil is being drilled pretty well. And so I think price oil and stuff, like there's a lot of different license plates around town right now. So the population goes up a bit, but not more than a couple hundred, so maybe 1200 people.
So I know you're very adept at the online space. How many people in the bricks and mortar business right now? How many
in
clients?
our business.
Yeah,
I think we have like 150 clients.
150 clients out of an 1,100 person town. That's like over 10% of the population is coming into this gym.
So a good chunk of that revenue is our remote coaching. But when I say remote coaching, you got to remember if you looked on a map, you see Melita, Manitoba in the border, and then Brandon, Manitoba, and then all these small little towns around. Like,
Yeah,
we just coach everybody in there,
right.
right? Like, so we have a service designed where people maybe train at our facility for a bit, and then they train at home, because busy moms and dads got baseball practice and hockey practice and jobs. So for them to try to make our gym with logistics of driving isn't reasonable. So we're coaching them, holding them accountable, but a little bit different than your normal group class model every day.
That's awesome. Tell me how you got into what your background was. We'll start with you, Sarah. What was your background, like high school, university, any of this kind of stuff, sports?
Yeah,
What were you up to, and then how did you get into the fitness industry?
that was always sports were my kind of thing. That's what I excelled at the most. So I was really big into hockey, softball, track and field. Those are probably my three big ones. So once I graduated, I went to university in Minot State on a
South Dakota?
Yeah.
North Dakota?
North Dakota, yeah, on a track and field scholarship. And I was taking corporate fitness, like a corporate fitness degree there. And then ended up in Winnipeg the next year taking kind of like U1 still wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I would have loved to do something in the fitness space because that's what I was really into. And then kind of got distracted by oil money for a couple years there. Started working in the oil field. And then that kind of oil dropped, and I started training people out of our garage in our house.
You were with this character already? You guys been
That's
together?
because she met me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, give me your story there, Nathan.
Yeah. So, I mean, I grew up in central Manitoba, same thing, like playing every sport under the sun. Small town, you play what you do, hockey, volleyball was my thing. And I remember always being drawn to coaching, and then, comes grade 11 and 12, it's like, oh, I got to decide what the hell I'm going to do with my life. So went to Brandon University for phys ed. I mean, long story short, coached through all that. I ended up, the reason why I moved to Melita was because I got my first phys ed job, and that was 2011. And by then, I'm a gym rat. I'm kind of searching for what I want to do for fitness. I'm training everything. I'm just trying all these different diets and trying training. And I'm in a small town with no gym, but my school weight room has a pretty sweet little setup that I can kind of make whatever I want. And then here we are. I find a video of Rich Froning, and I'm like, holy crap! Like, I want to look like that dude. And so that was early 2011, and all I did was literally teach and train because I knew not a single soul in this small little town. And if someone from Melita is watching this, I'm sorry, but like when you go to a small town, everybody's like super cliquey, and if you don't know anybody, and I didn't have any family connections, no friends, nothing. So all I did was like work out and teach. And so, kids catch on to that stuff, right? They're like, hey, could you show me? And so then come that summer, it's like I'm training kids in the summer out of the school weight room through like a rec program. And then the following year, I think I got my CrossFit level 1, and then I started taking OPEX program design, and all while we're training together and dating now and talking about how we'd love to own a gym. And then we bought a house together, and it had a big garage. That was a priority for us. Like, we need a big garage so we can train out of it. Started a gym out of the garage, and before you know it, I got like 20 kids I'm training, and then moms and dads are asking about it. And I mean, long story short, she gets laid off from the oil industry in 2015 when the oil barrel dropped from $100 a barrel to like 20.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, like we got this, like let's pursue it. And we made a little social media account, Sarah and Nathan's Garage Gym. And that was the spring of 2015. And by the fall of 2015, we moved into the building we are today. So.
And then you did it your way for a couple of years, or the way the industry typically does it, and you saw there was something wrong. Tell me about those times, and tell me about what just occurred to you was wrong, and why you were looking, or just kind of talk about that whole experience.
I mean, me and her always talk about it, and you can add whatever if you see anything here. But the biggest one for us was we had like a core group of people, and every gym I'm sure can relate to this. It's like I don't have to stress about Susie all the time. She shows up for her 3 classes a week, and she's super motivated, and she's like seeing the results that we kind of display, right? And it's what we want in a client. It's like, how can we get those good clients? Our biggest challenge was to find good people, or like
find more Susies,
like more Susies to stick around. Like how can this person like stick around, so the biggest one for us was like the retention, right? Because we knew like Susie, if anybody asked Susie about her experience at Southwest Strength, it'd be like, Sarah and Nathan are great. It's amazing. It's like a family. They develop a relationship with you, all the things that we put a lot of energy in and value highly as coaches and owners. But we were like, we're missing something there because, we have a walk-in service. Like, hey, you want to sign up? Like, we'll pray to God that you buy from us, and then you come for the month, and 2 and 3 and 3 leads to 3 years. But literally that's just like rolling the dice.
Yep. I hope you renew next month.
Yeah, I hope you renew next month, right? And so we knew that system was broken, but I didn't know how good gyms did it, right? So you start to hear your guys' content and how you guys did things, and how coaches were like making $70,000 a year. And I'm like, okay, it's like, we need to find this stuff out, right? So
yeah. Another big thing was too, like we would have someone start at our gym, and then we wouldn't see them for 4 months, and then they would decide oh, maybe like, oh, I don't feel so great after I've stopped working out. I need to come back and start. And the first thing they would do at that first session back would be like, why did you guys ever let me quit? Or like, why did I do that? So now it's just, we needed some sort of system to let them know and be confident in telling them like, this is what you need. This is how you'll get there. And making them, not making them believe it, but educating them on that more and being more confident in, this is where we can get you because I'm confident in it now.
Right. So, I mean, a lot of, you talk to, say people, but you talk to coaches, gym owners, even clients, and you ask them, what's your client development process? And people kind of look at you like dumbfounded. They don't know what that means. So I'm just going to define that for people at home. The client development process is, what does a client do when they come into your gym? What do they do the first day, the second day, and so on and so forth? I mean, I come from the engineering world, and the experience that we scripted for a potential client was laid out and honed for generations, really. And when I worked for Fortune 100 companies, I mean, they had the client experience mapped out. Like, here's the first 90 days, and then here's the next 90 days. It was just something that was drilled into us, that what you do with the client is got to be very specific, and what you're trying, you got to be understand of what you're trying to achieve. And you get to the fitness industry and you say, what's your client development process? And they don't have a clue. And they say, what do you do with the client? What do you mean? They just go into a group class, right? Or they come in on a free day on Sunday, or they bring a friend day, or the free week, or how are you doing this client development process? Some people call it client onboarding, on-ramping. Like, that just infers that they're going someplace else, which is just a group class. And professional coaching services, it kind of makes you chuckle. But what did you used to do?
Yeah.
So, what did you used to do, and then why didn't that work?
I'm going to say it's the old CrossFit model. Like, you come through the door and, hey, here's the coaches, and there's 6 other people, and we're going to do a group class, and hopefully I see you tomorrow. And here's our link to our website, and this is how you purchase a membership.
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
And why did you do it that way?
I just think it was kind of like, I think this is how everybody does it. It just seems like this is what everybody's doing.
It is how everybody's doing it. So
we went to a few CrossFit gyms and it was no different, right? So
yeah, I was told to do it that way back in 2004 and 5, and
yeah,
I'm like, man, this thing makes no fucking sense. Why are we doing this? You know what I mean? It was just like everybody did it, and I went and talked to the yoga people. They did it that way. I talked to the Pilates people. I had some friends and all over the places, and that's how they did it. And I mean, man, it just didn't make any sense
and it's crazy to me that gyms are, even as we're speaking, are doing that right now.
And if you get online and show them anything different or say something different, they call you some kind of a heretic, or you hate CrossFit, or you're a baby rapist. Or I mean, it's amazing how upset people get about it. I mean, the most obvious thing in the world, if you think you did a controlled one-on-one consult with a person versus, here you go, jump into the group class at Snatch Day, what would your results look like? I mean, it
versus Snatch Day, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I think we got away with it in the beginning too, because this was a brand new concept in Melita or anywhere surrounding us too. So everyone that came into the classes were brand new. Like, we didn't have a lot of experienced people. So basically everyone just starting was kind of starting at the same level too. So I think that's why we were able to get away with it for a little bit, because we were kind of showing everybody how to snatch the first day they came in, because it was their first time doing it for everybody.
Yeah, so. And at the start, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 people show up for class, so it's kind of like personal training a bit anyway, until it gets more full, and then you need some systems. So you just put people right into a group class, and what were the problems you saw with that? Like, I know we touched on it, but
the biggest thing was, I'd say the biggest thing when I really think about it would be just the client's already scared shitless to walk in your gym, right? And like every time we gain a new client, it doesn't matter what kind of marketing message you can send them, or until they get in there and realize they can do it, right? But a group class is the worst. You're literally throwing them out to the wolves, right? And so that was the biggest thing that stuck out to us, was that we know they're scared shitless. But then when you're first learning to coach, or if we, God forbid, you had a new coach, that's also very stressful for the coach to feel like they need to be right beside them, but they also need to be watching Susie in the corner, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's a very overwhelming feeling. It's like this person doesn't have a clue to snatch, but either does Susie, but Susie's been here a year, like, so that was the biggest thing that stuck around. And then the fact that it just, people didn't stick around long enough.
Like,
Like,
if you track the data, like I don't go on those forums anymore. There's a new genius in there every 2 years that doesn't really know anything in those CrossFit forums. But Audrey was telling me one recently, a guy that's been around for 10 years, I won't say his name, he's like, oh, I came up with the answer of all time. We're going to do beginner classes before they can get into the group class. I was
like, so you're doing
that hasn't been thought of for 20 years. And Audrey just put out, like, how long? Oh, that's great. Like, how long you been doing it? I go, oh, a month. Have you got any data? No. Right? Like, the idea of tracking the results and seeing how you improve the result is completely foreign to this industry. And like you said, there's all kinds of unintended consequences. Like, Susie here now is a great client who you pay lots of attention to and you have a relationship with. Now you have to ignore her to go the new person who hasn't paid you a cent because you're scared they're going to kill themselves, right? So Susie gets fucking nothing anymore, and the new person gets everything. It's like it's just a bad. It's like there's people that they need new friends all the time. You know what I mean? Because their old friends hate them. That's just right. Yeah, that thing. Okay, so. Take me through how you do it now. What does your client development process look like? How does someone get a hold of you? Then what do you do? Then what do you do? Then what do you do?
Yeah, so
it's a test. See where you're at here.
We'll gain leads through various ways. I mean, most common would be an email through our website. DM
probably a referral from a friend or something like this too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the referrals are, like I said, when we look at that map, right? We got these small towns. Everybody knows somebody in our gym at this point. And it's like a DM on social media, whether that's a personal or a business. And then it's say, hey, can we jump on a call? Because of course that first message is, hey, how much does it cost to come to your gym, right? You know. Yeah. And so it's jump on a call and basically put them through an interview process. Like, what are you after? What are your goals? Can I help you?
Do the whole Greg Mack
yeah, exactly, right?
Rainmaker thing,
Yeah. And then it's like, like I think we have what it takes to help you. This is the cost for what we, if you're coming to our classes, this is probably what our goals are with personal training. And, we do anywhere from 10 to whatever's needed. And we don't put a number on that until we meet the person and see them move. Right.
So, personal training sessions.
Yeah.
So the first day is a consult. Are you sweat or no sweat consult?
So, I mean, the first, if you're talking sales, we do the chat on the phone. And then if they're in, we see them the very first day and we consult and move.
I used to always do the consult and move. All the new school hipster guys are doing the no sweat consult, and it seems to be working fine. So
I feel like most of our coaches have been. I mean, and we leave it up to the coaches if they feel like they're having a good conversation, and it's you know how it is. Every client might want to talk a little deeper.
Yeah, a lot of our guys don't do that thing on the phone anymore. We're doing a deep dive right now. I'll tell you about a little later. But we're going through everything in our whole gym right now with Greg. It's a 14-week program. We've got so many coaches, and some have been around a long time. A few new ones and a few in the middle. We're finding out that there are best practices that are evolving, and a lot of the guys are not talking on the phone. They say, okay, they qualify them some way, and then come in. They do the first day, no sweat, and then they do basically a 3-day or a 3-session assessment. Are you doing a 3-session assessment?
Okay.
Yeah. Are you guys doing that?
We don't do that. We usually sell them a block of personal training, whether that be, we generally like to aim for that 10 PT sessions. Yeah. Good results with that. Right.
Yeah. That's how I always did it too. Our guys are now going 3 to sort of get their feet wet, and then they sell another 10 and then another 5. Usually it's around that. Yeah. And then a hybrid membership once every 6 weeks is kind of the standard.
Yeah. Yeah. We do the same thing. Me and Audrey have set up a base. We just have like a 4 PT a year or bronze, you name it. But honestly, once we get people rolling through, we've had lots of people do like 1 PT a month for a year, and then they switch to a base after that. Because it's like they feel like, because our gym is pretty low, like it's pretty small. What I mean by
Yeah.
that is our traffic volume is lower. We rarely have 10 people in a class right now, right?
How many square feet do you have?
I'm gonna say a floor space. I don't know exactly, but it'd be over 2,000.
Okay, that's good.
So the building's like 30 some hundred, but we have some office space on one side. So
And you're both coaching in there. You're both acting as coaches in the
Yep.
facility.
we have another head coach, Joey, who's there right now as we speak. So
And he's paid in the Madlab model, and he's happy.
yeah,
and
he's done the junior apprentice, he's done the senior apprentice.
nice.
Yeah, and then we have another girl that we haven't got set up with you, but we've been training her, and she's slowly taking on some more leadership roles. So
Was that you that when we just announced the new PCDP 5.0, the new junior apprentice program we just released? Was that you that said I got 2 guys coming?
no,
It wasn't. I thought
No.
it was you. Who was it? I'm confused. I got somebody. It must have been Jason Kane. I'll have to look at that.
Saskatoon.
I think so. I just saw
Hey.
prairies in my head for some reason. I'll have to take a look at that again. It was on our forum.
Saskatchewan. Same.
That's close enough.
Cool.
So let me ask you just a question. I don't know if you've thought about it, and maybe it's best you don't. These are the things that keep me up at night because I've been sued and get hounded by trolls and everything for just kind of saying the truth. I went on a Stu Brower's podcast recently and just kind of unloaded because it was like it was building up. I couldn't tell my truth for years. It was actually making me sick. So I have a very clear understanding after all these years of doing what I do, which is talk to gym owners and have people that compete against us as business consultants that have never owned a gym or wouldn't know anything really about the business of it, but they run the old model. Why is that model still pervasive? Why is it still out there? Why are gyms still following that? What would be have you thought about this or any best guess around it?
I mean, I think you think of like just CrossFit's power in terms of marketing at this point, right? Like, so many people are influenced by these top people affiliated with CrossFit. So whether that be an athlete or someone that works for them.
Right.
So it's just a harsh reality. You're trying to fight against them.
Why would CrossFit ever want that model to begin with, and why would it want it today?
Because at the end of the day, you look like they have 15,000 gyms or 10,000 plus gyms. Like, they love you, right? But really, you're just a number at the end of the day. So it's free range. It's entrepreneurship, right? Like the best of the best will do well, and the losers will get weeded out.
Yeah, well, the cream rises to the crop and then leaves is what I've found, right?
Yeah.
But at one point they had to scale this thing fast. They were opening up hundreds of new gyms every month, and it had to be the simplest thing in the world to understand and execute. And that's certainly the easiest thing to understand and execute. Anyway, I won't beat that down too much further. Tell me something. How many mistakes can you make in a small town of integrity, honesty, or shysterism? Like if you did the 6-week free challenge and then brought people in and you were tricking them into it's a deposit and this and that. Like
Yeah. I don't think you could do it at once.
Probably,
in my opinion.
Probably 0.
And I'd like to think we haven't done it yet. So
Knock on wood.
yeah, reputation is everything, right? And I mean, we put a lot of value on that, and like word of mouth is our main source of referral. It really is,
Yeah, I find that the best people in Madlab are people that are sort of, I hate to say homemade or small town or simple, as I'm homemade, small town, simple, but even the people in the city, there's like a little community in the city of just kind of real people, and the idea of tricking somebody or lying to somebody or stealing just wouldn't occur to them. And it wouldn't, just in a small town, it just wouldn't work. It's just so obvious it wouldn't work very long, right? The people in the city somehow, they try it on for size.
I mean, we're in a small town, so we battle you hear the word of mouth on what they think we do in our gym versus what we do in our gym, but that's just people's perception from the outside looking in, right?
Yeah.
They think we're a cult, or they think we're a bunch of meatheads lifting weights, or but at the end of the day, that was like really even more so of a thing like 7 years ago.
Yep.
And I mean,
well, you were probably a cult and some meatheads. I know we were there 7 years ago or 14 years ago or wherever, right?
Yeah. But nowadays, like you see like our little army of people that love it just like we do, growing and growing. So I mean, it kind of speaks for itself, right? So
So how has it evolved from back in the day when you first joined and you were, I mean, you got to give it to CrossFit. They did change the landscape of fitness. How has it changed from 7 years ago to today with your programming and how you actually execute the business?
I feel like it really hasn't changed other than we retain way more customers. We make way more money because we retain more customers. We can predict revenue every month. But honestly, if you look at our training designs and programming and philosophy, nothing's changed.
So you still like the hard and intense every day?
Oh, no. We've never followed. So that's the thing. Like if you're talking that, I've never affiliated myself with CrossFit. Like I was, if anything, more of like OPEX program design. I'm a big James Fitzgerald influence.
Yeah, he knows his stuff. He's really good at that, no doubt.
I get coached by Michael Fitzgerald since 2013.
Tell Michael that Patty said hi. I like Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So from a training and programming perspective, that's been a biggest influence of us. Like, hey, clients, we're going to do progressions on things. And sometimes it's going to be boring. And you don't sweat every day in terms of like Metcons or burpees or thrusters. Like, there's a reason behind everything that we do. It's not random and it's not, constantly varied is not just random movements thrown together every week. It's like, hey, on Mondays we do back squats and front squats or whatever. Yeah. And you work on upper body strength because this is why,
Yeah.
So that's always been the conversation, So we've never battled. Like I have a couple gym owner friends that have taken over affiliates and now they're like, listen, we're going to train smarter and we're going to train for longevity and like with a reason. Well, now they're battling the high intensity junkies, right? Like, why are we dying during these EMOMs every day? And like, why are we doing these squat progressions and like technique work and
accessory work?
They're battling that. And they've told me their problems. And I'm like, Rick, I've never even thought that was a thing.
Well, that's happening. It's happened in our facility, Nathan. I mean, back in my day, it was hardcore. I was a goose step and disciple. That started changing for me in 2009 because I was a pretty hardy soul, and everybody around me, the close group, or biomechanically, we were quite correct, and then we started dropping off from adrenal fatigue. Like there was no other way to explain it. You just couldn't drag yourself in there one more day. I couldn't do Helen or Fran or any of that stuff one more time. There was just I psychologically burnt out, and I was like a cortisone nightmare probably by that point. And I can't pretend that I knew in depth the level of training that James ever did or yourself, but I was more of the business guy, and I just knew this was bad business. You know what I mean? I don't want to go into my own classes.
Exactly.
It's bad business, and for me, it was always the economics is the study of people. So I was always interested in that and how that really played out. And so, I mean, we started changing and evolving, and then when Tom came along, and Bill and some of our younger people that really were studying all kinds of fields and from all kinds of people, and they had done the CCP, and that was one of their influences. They started dramatically changing our thing around 2014. Like I changed our branding in 2011 or 12 because I'm like, I can't compete on price with these guys doing Groupon over here selling it for nothing. And for me, it made no sense to keep the brand. But I didn't have a solution for the actual movements. But I mean, in our gym, we still have people going, man, I want to do some old school CrossFit. Friends of mine, they're like, I want to do a leaderboard. And I mean, like, man, I go, how many people could really survive that? Like, you want to take a look at your attrition rate or churn rate. How many of it was, hey, they love their coach and they love the community, and we brought them along fine. They can't do it anymore. They just can't do it anymore.
Or they still can't do a pull-up after 3 years of training, right? Because they work on it once a month or whatever, right?
Yeah, constantly random.
Thing, right?
Yeah, or they're hurt and all this kind of stuff. So I'm good to hear that. I'm really glad you said that you got into some good hands right off the bat.
Yeah, I feel like we're lucky to be influenced by some good people early on.
Yeah. What would happen? What would life look like if you never found Madlab, or what do you think would have happened here?
I think we were already plateaued.
Yeah, I would have probably still been working on the floor from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. wondering why I didn't have time for anything else.
Yeah. And I mean, with the kids, I don't really we would have probably had to hire somebody that wouldn't have been maybe trained, or we wouldn't have taken it as seriously. And ironically, that somebody would have been expensive for us to try to pay. like, because we didn't have the systems in place in terms of like, hey, you can make more money by bringing in clients and incentivize them. And so, yeah, I don't really want to think that way because I mean, we've doubled our revenue or more in 4 years. So, we've tripled it actually. Yeah. So,
And it sounds like the quality of life's a lot better, and you see a future.
It
yeah,
is,
I mean, the
yes.
pandemic kind of says screw you, but I think we're on the bright side looking up here now. So, yeah, definitely.
So, what do you see in the next year, 3 years, 5 years? What are you guys looking at?
I think we were just talking about that. I think we've officially hit our first plateau as a business, and we're okay with that.
You can be comfortable, and life is good here at this place.
Yeah, like we're like, okay, we make this much revenue, our expenses are good, we can pay ourselves what we want, we can do what we want. If we want to go on a couple of vacations a year, we can. We'll be able to have flexible schedules with our kids. We're working a lot. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's always on our minds, but we can definitely get away if we have to.
Man, that is really good to hear. It's
Right?
good. It's good to sit at base camp for a
Yeah.
while and go to camp 3 and then decide what you really want instead of being
Yeah.
in the frantic place where it's like I need 10 more clients to survive.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we've kind of been showing these our growth or our plateau for the last couple of years, but it's been good. So we've settled in. Our biggest challenge will be making sure we can develop new coaches and which seems like we're attracting somebody. I was telling Audrey, I mean, her help with us in terms of making a career page, and like, you want coaches to reach out to you for like, hey, I would love to work for you guys one day. And we literally had a young guy message us, and I'm like, that's insane to me. Like, I never thought that would be a thing, right? Like, I thought I'd be knocking on people's doors all the time.
Please come work
Hey,
for
do you
us.
want to coach for us? Like, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's 10 people, but one guy emailed me, hey, I'm 20 years old. I didn't want to go to university because of the pandemic. I fell in love with fitness the last 2 years. I'm going to take my CrossFit level 1. I would love to maybe being an apprentice be an option. And I'm like, okay, like, you're appealing for me. You're a young guy. You could be influenced in a good way. And so we're going to start looking into this guy, but yeah.
Well,
cool.
I think you can genuinely consider yourselves thought leaders in the industry. I mean, most gym owners are struggling to have any kind of a life, pay any of the bills, and in a small town, that's a whole. Most don't last very long. I've just seen so many
Yeah.
with the dream, but not the plan and the smarts to execute it. So
Yeah.
I'm super stoked. I'm super stoked. Audrey said you got to go talk to those. There's 2 great people. You got to talk to them. So
That's awesome. Yeah. I was
Tell
telling
me.
you, like, we're 7 years official as a business, but we've been training people for about 9 years, just for free or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool. Time flies.
I think now, well, 7 years ago, I would have never thought like I want to be a coach to make a lot of money. Like, I never thought that those two could go hand in hand. Like, so it was never, I never started it to like be rich, right? I just wanted to genuinely help people, and I loved fitness so much, and it has helped me. So I just want to be like, oh, look at how much like this can add so much value to your life. Like, so, but it's nice now that you can like kind of have it hand in hand. Like, you can have a comfortable living while doing this.
yeah, it's good to have a. I know if I could go back, I always think, man, if I could go back and just talk to myself in 2004, I was on the right path, and I got just started off as like personally training people I was like, I sold my engineering business, and I was like gearing up to start another one. I was just kind of doing this on the side for fun, and then it kind of just took over my thoughts, and I didn't have any thoughts about the engineering thing. And I was, I was going along. I was probably making $8,000 a month with small group training and bringing people on, kind of in our Madlab model. Like, it was a 1-day assessment and probably 10 personal training sessions. Joined this little group, and I had no overhead. But if I went on vacation, I had no money coming in, and that was a problem. And if I like to go out and hoop it up on Friday night, I had the Saturday morning class. That sucked. You know what I mean? So there's these little things that got in the road. But when I finally opened, I was getting kicked out of every. There was no place for me to train because you got kicked out of every personal training studio, and gym and whatever. So I finally opened up. Like, man, it was amazing the forces that told me you got to put people straight into a group class. Like, and
Yeah.
yeah, if I can go back and talk to myself in 2005 when I made a rash host of decisions. What would you say to yourself? So, I mean, what if you had to talk to anybody out there right now that's sitting in a gym in the situation you guys were looking at 7 years ago? What would you say to them? What's the first few things they could do to change the situation?
Yeah, I mean, first thing that pops up to my mind is start getting coaches and getting incentives to bring people in, so you don't have to do it all by yourself all the time, right? And teach them a system on like, listen, if you can retain this client, you're going to get paid for it pretty substantially. And I mean, long-term, it's going to benefit the business, right? And then the onboarding process of PT first is game changing. It's a deal breaker. It really is. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
I would say more so I'm going to take it this direction, but Nathan and I really believe in leading by example and being the example of, oh, this is what consistency gets you in our own like training and lifestyle too. So just be consistent with your own stuff. Like, I can't be a hypocrite and tell someone to train when they're tired if I don't, or come to, keep going when I don't want to. So really setting a good example for our clients as well has, I think, been a big motivator for all of our clients.
Right, but you don't necessarily have to be fitness junkies and be the fittest person in the room.
Yeah, and then I think a big one that like Sarah says too is, this is what really appealed to me when I was talking to Audrey 4 years ago, was you guys emphasized relationships, and I seen a value in that a long time ago, and it was always something we talked about. I'm like, hey, you got to get to know this person. Like, just text them on their birthday, like, hey, ask them how their kid's doing in hockey. And like, because I seen that early on, and I knew that was a big part of our retention, because I wanted them to know that they were part of something more than just an exercise or workout. And so relationships with Madlabs, when you do personal training and you have the Coach for Life system in terms of hybrid memberships and check-ins, and that, I'm like, this is literally it. Like, this is what I've been looking for. It made sense to me. I'm like, because if I can spend 10 hours with a person together, you're going to tell me crazy shit, and you're going to get to know them on a personal level. So that made sense to me early on. And I mean, if you're a gym owner or a coach and you're not really worrying about relationships and you're just giving them reps and sets, and you suck, like, you're not going to be sticking around. Like,
yeah, and I think for the coaching for the coach's side, what you mentioned there is, I mean, you're paying them for the stuff the client's doing outside of class as much as in.
Exactly, right?
Maybe talk a bit about that. Like, how badly can things go wrong outside of your gym?
Totally, right? This is something we talk about all the time, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, we do a lot of like individual coaching too, right? So with our remote coaching, it's like the whole package, not just the movement. We're talking about their lifestyle and sleep, and it's like, what's your stress level like? How much time do you have to train? What's your nutrition look like? So, I mean, they know,
Yeah, I mean, if you paid a coach $20 an hour to run a group class or a percentage for personal training, would you get the same effect?
Right. Exactly. So the accountability ends up being very important too, right? Like, hey, how was your food this week? How's your body feel? Any changes needed? Like, it's ongoing all the time, right?
Awesome. What was your event in track and field there, Sarah?
Javelin.
Javelin. You're a thrower. Baseball, or softball too, right?
Yeah, I throw sticks around.
Well, you guys you're so clean, I can't find a hole in the game here. I knew it would be. If you can make this work in a small town, it's just common sense after a while, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like from my mindset, and I feel like, Patty, you could probably relate to this because I talk to Audrey all the time about it. It's like, you never think you're winning, right? And I mean, that's maybe what fuels you to keep going, right? Like, that's why you're doing well, because I never really relax, and I never really feel like every weekend I think the ship is sinking, right? Like, he's done, man. I'm like, Sarah, it's over, right? And you can relate how well to this, right? Pandemic hits, like, Sarah, this is it. 10 years of hard work, like, might as well find a new job, right? Like, sell it. We're selling. And I think that's also a testament to, like, we're not getting stagnant, right? I'm not going to just be giving you the same stuff all the time or the same message. I'm always trying to improve myself. And as a business, we're motivated to do that because at the end of the day, we talk about this all the time. We love this stuff, right? Like I love training and health and fitness and how it makes me feel. So I don't see that going away anytime soon, right? So I want everybody to experience it.
Yeah, I had a friend. I think that's the role of an entrepreneur. And if you're comfortable, there's a level of, do I really believe this is okay now? Am I finally like, can I relax on this thing? And I've gotten to that place a few times, and somehow or another, the other shoe drops. And I mean, we're never in a really bad spot. I mean, I've stared into the abyss of bankruptcy a few times when we were really worried. You're staring over the next day, I can't pay rent, and my cable's cut off, and I'm staring into an empty TV screen stone. And I maybe smoke weed once every 3 years, but I mean, this is the night. We're going bankrupt tomorrow, so whatever. I felt that a few times, and somehow, if you do the right things and you're honest and straightforward with people, it kind of just works out. And maybe there's just comes a time you trust it, and you do the actions that you know that wins. And you know that part of human nature, I think the things we're doing will never change. In some business, you're chasing technology, they're chasing the next thing, but I really don't think human beings and those connections and those relationships will ever change. And people are going to want to come in and have human interaction. I don't think the Fitbit or, completely remote coaching with strangers over there is ever going to take over what we do, right?
Yeah, there might be a moment where we think it does, and then everybody always comes back to this, right? Full circle.
Yeah, I had a buddy of mine. His dad sold children's clothing for 50 years, and he had a guy's like 70 years old. He's been successful every year, and I remember my buddy said, "Yeah, my dad called me up last night. That's it. We're going to hell in a handbasket. People aren't going to have kids anymore, and
yeah.
Right. So those are good.
You get in the kids business. I mean, we see that how much money we spend on them, or I mean, you hate to say it, but you get in the funeral business. There's some guarantees there.
I got another good friend that bought and sold funeral homes. He's got some really good stories. You can't really lose in that one either. Well, guys, thanks a lot for trusting us. Thanks for sticking with us. Any last words or anything you'd like to say?
I mean, we're pretty grateful for where we're at, and
very grateful.
And I mean, by no means do we have this thing figured out perfectly, and that's why we use you guys as accountability for ourselves too, right? So, and training for our coaches and you name it. So we feel like if we're going to cheap out in an area that is so important to us, we're really we have to look in the mirror and really ask ourselves what the hell we're doing, right?
Yeah, once we get to the phase that you guys are at, we're sort of a sounding board, and then I consider it an insurance policy. Some little things happen that you've never seen before, and you can shave down all the mistake time by going, Audrey, and if I haven't seen it, or other gym owner in the network, I say, oh yeah, I'll call somebody up and go, have you ever seen this one? And they're like, oh fuck yeah, I saw that one, and this is how I handle it, and it was wrong, and then we handle it this way, and it worked, and it's kind of like a little insurance policy with all the gyms around the world. I'm thinking, like, how do people get a hold of you? Like, if we'd like you to put this across your channels, and if they show it to their friends and this kind of thing, how do people get a hold of your business or each one of yourselves?
I mean, they could follow us on social media, Instagram, or we have a Facebook page, but probably the easiest would be social media or southweststrength.com. I mean, it doesn't.
Southweststrength.com.
Yep.
Southwest Strength. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. Nathan and Sarah Corrigal, Southwest Strength, up in the house.
Thank you.
Just
take care.
Stick in for a second. I'm going to stop.